All right, I want to turn to our other story at the top of the show, and that is this Project Veritas video behind the scenes. Take a listen.
Good news is the candidate would like to have a mascot following around the duck. Following around the candidate, Trump. But the bad news is she wants it to be Donald Duck. And that's because Sklar is an old Clinton hand. And he had gone to some buddy of his who's one of her body people, and she had explained it to Hillary, and Hillary just loved it.
These individuals no longer have a relationship with the DNC. They've never had a relationship with the Clinton campaign. This was, again, a video that was leaked out for the purpose of damaging the campaign. It is edited, so we don't know what the full context is.
Bob's contract, according to the records that I was able to pull at the DNC, was not signed until June of 2016.
Just to give you some context, Bob Kramer is this consultant whose Democratic National Committee contract was severed after last week's Veritas video. The White House logs say he's visited 299 times between 2010 to 2016, 34 visits with the president also in attendance. Now, some have said that there are even more of those, and meeting with the president. The bottom line is this guy is connected, Laura, and these videos show that he's talking about Hillary Clinton saying, you know, let's get these Donald Ducks about tax returns out to this outside organization.
Yeah, if these are independent expenditures being used, they're not supposed to be coordinated with the campaign. Now, there's a very strict three-pronged test. It's to be able to meet whether this coordinated expenditure, which is against federal election law. It regards payment, content, and conduct. Now, the content here is this Donald Duck character. It's not clear that that would, under the legalistic definition, be a communication that is coordinated as a legal matter. I don't want to get into the legal weeds.
Well, we talked about it at the beginning of the show.
But I know the guest kind of dismissed it. It's not all that clear yet. That has to be fleshed out a little bit more. But more important, they keep kind of blowing this off and saying, well, Kramer's no longer with. But that doesn't matter. He's a dirty tricks guy, longtime confidant of the Clintons, obviously very close with Obama. And he was involved in this, and clearly, according to that video, and I can't see how they say that's edited, Hillary Clinton gave the thumbs up to this. Now, again, they keep saying, well, they're stolen documents. WikiLeaks are stolen. You can't look at them. Well, they didn't think they were. It was a concern when Donald Trump's tax returns were leaked out, and they made hay of that. This, again, speaks to the question of ethics and propriety. They think campaign finance laws are important, but when they run afoul of them, they want to blow it off and say, well, he's no longer employed. I don't think that's all that relevant here.
Heidi.
I just, in this case, don't know what we have here other than Hillary Clinton maybe thought it would be amusing to have a duck stalk Donald Trump. That doesn't necessarily translate into an independent expenditure, as Laura points out. But these are very serious allegations, and that's why, as a journalist, I want to see the full unedited tapes, because O'Keefe had these moles, if you will, inside these organizations for many months, and he's refusing not only to release the unedited tapes, but to even put any kind of a timestamp or any kind of context whatsoever into these tapes. And given his history of misleading editing, I think that that is in the Americans.
He did have this plot to tamper with phones in Democratic Senator Mary Lander's office, and the FBI arrested him and 3 others. They charged him with entering federal property under false pretenses with the intent to commit a felony. He ended up pleading to a misdemeanor. He was sentenced to 3 years probation, and that didn't have to do with any of the editing of that tape. Just to be clear of that, of the charges from before.
Yeah, but a lot of the subjects in these tapes from the past and current, including the lady who was on the oxygen tank, she's been contacted by news organizations, and she said that is not what happened.
Yeah, and we are looking at the tapes as far as the unedited portions where they're talking about the interactions with the Clinton campaign. And I guess the point here is that they have, to Laura's point, have dismissed this entirely. The first tape dealt with inciting violence at Trump rallies, Tom. There was a complete, push-off, a Heisman Award there, that they were nowhere near this guy. And yet he is talking about hearing from Hillary Clinton and people close to her, interacting with the DNC and Donna Brazile in a contract because she's worried about ABC and Disney and the character. I mean, there's a lot of interaction here that is not explained by the campaign or the DNC.
Can I add one last thing before you go to him? And that is, I think we need to, another journalistic point that we need to make is that NBC News has reported that O'Keefe's group was given money from the Trump Foundation at the very beginning of this, when he was about to launch his campaign. And of course, a lot of his stories have been running through Breitbart. At that time, Steve Bannon was the head of Breitbart, and he's now Trump's campaign manager. So you have to point out the connections as well.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue here is that Donald Trump, the issues at the beginning of October, it would really give him a pretty powerful opportunity to just reinforce that notion. It speaks to something that I think pretty much everyone, whether they admit it or not, regardless of political leanings, believe now, which is that the Clintons are sort of cronyism incorporated, that there is a deep center to them that in various ways is sustained by the suspension of truth in political expediency. The problem is, I think at this point in the election, because the Trump campaign is sort of self-defined by chaos in a way, his ability to use this to sort of drive those undecided voters into his bloc and say, look, Hillary Clinton, this is something I've already said. I think no, people already believe this. It reinforces something that is most people in the country, most voters, believe already existed. It's in an ethical sense terrible, but politically, I don't know how it changes the dimensions of the race.
Yeah, and we'll see. And legally, obviously, there are questions as well about where it goes.